Tonight's guest is an acclaimed Canadian film producer who spent time working at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation as a writer and a producer. And he also spent time at the National Film Board of Canada, among the many other endeavors he was part of. He was also the recipient of the Norman Jewison Scholarship Award 2 years in a row. We have a really exciting show for you guys tonight. We don't want you to go anywhere. Stay right where you are, because we'll be right back. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Rob's Inner Circle, broadcast live on my personal Facebook page, on the Bobby Short Shorts YouTube channel, and on Twitch. Thank you all for joining us. Tonight is podcast 3 of 4 of the special holiday blitz we have here on Rob's Inner Circle. We'll be signing off with the blitz tomorrow night with our guest, Hollywood director Helen Alexis Yonov. But you guys got to stick around for tonight because we have a very exciting show, a super interesting guest that you guys are going to absolutely love. A big shout out goes out to my good friend and producer of Rob's Inner Circle, Miss Jenny Duhane. Thanks, Jenny, for being there. You're awesome. And another big shout out goes to my friends at Virgin Internet. I'm telling you, I'm really making a lot of friends. Again, I was on the phone today with a techie in Manila, and I made another friend, and he's another big fan of Rob's Inner Circle and also Daily Struggles, and he's subscribed to our channel, Bobby Short Shorts, on YouTube. So he's going to be hopping along. Neville, we can't wait to introduce you to our fans over here. You're great. You're absolutely fantastic in giving the service that you give, and Virgin Internet, a big shout out to you. And I also want to give a humongous shout out to all of the healthcare workers out there who are working so hard to keep us safe, the doctors, the nurses, all of you people in the hospitals, taking care of the maintenance, ambulance technicians, whatever. Guys, a huge shout out to you. God bless you. So it's that time once again. It's to get into, it's become a daily ritual because it's back-to-back shows that we have, but usually it's a weekly ritual. Anyways, for now, it's a daily ritual. So you guys, you're all in your pajamas by now, I would presume, right? Okay, so you got that glass of wine ready. You know the drill, right? You got to have the glass of water. Not water, it's wine. There you go. So you guys want to sit back. You want to relax. Let out the steam. Let us carry the load. Enjoy the show, guys. It's showtime, guys. Let's get it on. It's time to bring our guest. He's backstage and he can't wait to get on, and we can't wait to have him on. Ladies and gentlemen, he's Canada's own, Canada's pride, acclaimed film producer from Toronto. Here he is, Mr. Byron A. Martin. Byron. Hi, buddy.
Quite the intro. How you doing? Happy, merry belated Christmas, and yeah.
Same to you, Byron. You're an exceptional filmmaker, and you deserve the credit that comes to you.
Well, thank you. It's it's not a job you do by yourself, believe me. So
yeah, I know it's all teamwork, eh?
It's all a lot of work, a lot of people, and yeah. So it's an incredible amount of work and collaboration and ultimately celebration. So when you make something that you're proud of, and everyone can share and enjoy that.
So Byron, if we start from the beginning, we go all the way to your beginnings. You're from Edmonton, I understand, right?
That's it, yeah.
Okay, you grew up in Edmonton, and as a child, was it your aspiration to become a filmmaker?
You know what? As a kid, I used to. So my mother tells me that I used to love commercials, and I would watch TV, but I couldn't wait for the short stories to happen.
Oh,
Much more interesting than watching television. It would be much more engaging to watch television commercials, the small stories.
okay.
So that's probably why I kind of started in the business in advertising and commercial production.
Okay, so as a kid, as you were growing up, did you study some theater, some drama, did you take some acting classes?
No, actually, I'm a kind of I grew up with a single mother.
Okay.
And it's just my brother and I. And my brother was an actor for many years. He was the only guy ever to act in all 3 years of high school, our main play. And so when there was a problem, and they needed a stage manager, they needed somebody to do the sound, they needed someone to come in on the weekend to do lighting, and he would just say, "Oh, my brother will do that." So I was a professional volunteer. So I did lights and sound and all kinds of things, and then I started working in television, and I went and volunteered at the cable station, and we did every day. We produced shows, and so I was doing camera and lights and sound, and we were producing Learn to Draw shows and various interactions and working with different people every day. So and I just kind of started that way, and then started working, doing other things, and I went to television production and at school at NATE, and took radio and television art. So the program is really the first year you run a radio station, and the second year you run a television station. So you do the news, the weather, the sports. You provide all the programming, and so everything is. Then along with the program is you do a placement. So I was fortunate enough to do a placement at ITV, which is now Global.
Okay.
And we had a studio, and that's it. And I produced television commercials. I produced various programs when I was there. And it was a lot of stuff that we did all the Safeway commercials. We did a lot of production at ITV, and so I was involved in doing a lot of different things. And when the station had a commercial that came in and they didn't want to do, it'd be like, "Oh, Byron will do it." Get the kid to do it. So,
hey Byron, by the way, we have a common friend over here. Does that tell you anything over here? She can try.
Merry Christmas to my dear director and friend, Patricia Chica.
There you go. You guys worked together at one point, I understand.
Many times, yes. She just finished her first feature film, Montreal Girls.
Exactly, and she's an amazing director, and she was a guest on our show.
Yeah. No, she's wait, she's gonna break. one of our finest in this country.
She's an absolutely amazing director, and she's very talented. And it was just an amazing show that we had with her, just like we're going to have with you tonight, Byron.
Well, I'll try to keep up with her. I mean, I'm just a guy behind the camera, and unseen.
Byron, you went to school with Wayne Gretzky, I understand, back in Edmonton.
Yeah, see, Wayne, he left Ontario and he went to Edmonton to play. And so when he started playing WHA, he decided he wanted to finish high school. So he attended Ross Shepherd, and he was in some of my brother's classes, and you'd see Wayne walking down the hall. And
hey, how does it feel like you were hanging out like with a legend back then, not even knowing that one day he would become the legend that he had become? How does it feel?
It's he got married in Edmonton, and when I was in school running our station, I said, as a student, you have a lot of power. So, I'm running a TV station, so I need a press pass. So I went, and I used to go and sit in the the box seats to watch the Grey Cup. I used to go to the Oilers games and get one of the guys to go and shoot. And then I had a pass, and I'd go down to the locker room, and there was all the guys, doing interviews after hours, after the game, and Gretzky, and getting, Messier and Randy Gregg, and it was a great. Edmonton was a great place to grow up for sports. We won the Cup 4 years, then we won the Grey Cup. So our Yonge Street in Toronto, in Edmonton, is Jasper Avenue.
Okay.
So every summer, every winter, tens of thousands hit Jasper Avenue, walking up and down with our beer, celebrating. It was tremendous. It's the whole town comes alive, and it was fantastic. My buddy David Schechter, he had tickets, and he bought a program every game. And he won a trip for two to Vegas in the program. So he didn't go, so I bought it, and I took my mother. We went to Vegas. We show up at the hotel, get up in the room, and there's this beautiful, champagne basket full of food, and it says, "Welcome, Mr. and Mrs. Schechter."
Wow.
Yeah.
So you got to hang out with the Oilers players in their dressing room, and you were telling me when you saw Dave Semenko for the first time, it's like your jaw just dropped. This guy was like as big as a Sasquatch.
Follow that boy, I'll tell you. That's not one guy you want to make mad on the ice.
Well, he actually got to have some action, because when the guys would gang up on Gretzky, it wasn't too long that he was there policing the whole thing, right?
No, you wouldn't. You pay a hell of a price when you decide to interfere with Mr. Gretzky. When Dave hit the ice, and he was coming for you, I'll tell you.
Do you have any pictures with the Oilers players back then?
Other than my news reports that I did, no. You can't do that. Go in the locker room and say, "Hey guys, can I get a picture?"
Today it's a lot easier with our cell phones. You have the selfie thing and all that,
Yeah, no, you can't really do stuff like that. You're supposed to be a professional.
Yeah, you just try to keep the memory alive in your head, right?
So that, and and then I did I did a lot of events. I did Miss Canada.
Oh.
And did cover that, because we were responsible. We ran a TV station, so other than the news, weather, and the sports, you had to provide broadcasting and content. So I would go and do various sports events and hockey games, football games, and because I would have a press pass,
And how did you manage to get that press pass? I mean, with all the other students that were there and they weren't able to get it, and you must have done something magical to be able to get it.
It's Byron Martin. I'm phoning from, I forget our caller, CJRT, I think it was.
It's not easy.
And I'm calling from CJRT, and I want to cover the games.
Oh, wow. And they just said, okay, no problem.
And they said, "Okay, sir, you can pick up your pass at the Oilers office."
Wow, that's pretty awesome.
That was it. And so once I had a pass to go to the Coliseum, that was it. And the same thing, So I thought, "Oh, this is great." So, every event you have a press list. So to get in on a press pass to go to and cover Miss Canada, you phone, you say, I want to cover the event from the station and interview Miss Canada.
And what was it like covering the Miss Canada pageant? That must be absolutely amazing.
That was fun. She was a real sweetheart. Cynthia, I forget her last name. A beautiful girl, but
was she from Edmonton?
Great energy. Everyone is there. It looks like $1 million. And you're covering the winner and doing a story. And I did other stories of our, our hockey team, because we had done very well, and other, things that were going on at the city at the same time. And then this, I made my final year film that we did called The Penthouse.
Okay.
And which we shot. And the same thing, I said, look, I'm making a movie and I need some help. What's the best suite at the Hilton? And so I phoned in the manager and I said, what's the Queen comes to town on the royal visit. What's the suite the Queen stays in? And he says, well, the Queen's. I said, wow. I need the Queen's room for a couple of nights on the house. Like silence on the other phone. He says, okay. So that's it. We filmed in the suite.
Wow. And you also worked on huge Hollywood productions, and one of them is X-Men. Not as a producer, I believe you were the location manager on that one.
Yeah. I was on that picture for a year. So
talk to us a little bit about X-Men and your experience with that.
Just again, you're working with top people. Bryan Singer was a 33-year-old kid who'd been given a budget of $75 million to make a movie.
Oh,
and he had a committed release date.
Just give me $1 million.
Yeah, 75. And then of course it went tremendously over budget. But I had, at that time I had two of my buddies, Liam Kiernan, who lives in Montreal now, and Greg Holmgren. And they're both managers in their own right. Greg was on holiday in Europe, and I called them and I said, when are you back? And he said, well, I may stay. Then I said, never mind staying. I got a job. I said, we're doing X-Men. And he said, you kidding me? And so I said, yeah, get your ass back here. So, and then Liam, who, I worked Kiernan with many, many years, they're both dear friends. But, essentially you set yourself up on a big show. I ran 5 units. We had main unit, second unit, visual effects unit. We had a plate unit, and all complex photography. And you have to, really work with all the departments, because you're there. We have a place in town, the Gooderman Works, that, that we use for the opening of the film if you've seen the original X-Men. And it's where Magneto's young, and they separate the kids from their parents, and the kid, he pulls apart the whole fence and scares the hell out of everybody. Well, we had an accident. We kind of pulled our young actor's, arm out of his socket. So I had to, hold on to it for 6 weeks and leave it pressed. And, and you have to stick handle a lot of things, and you have people, the bigger the shows, you have so much more construction that's going on in different places. All at the same time, you're building in the studio. We had 5 studios, and then you're building on location, and you find a place. And then the next day you got, 25 carpenters.
Wow.
Set builders. It's just the part of the magic on big shows that is really fantastic.
What was your most thrilling experience on this set of X-Men? You've been there for a year. I'm sure you must have a lot of amazing souvenirs. But for you, what was the most amazing experience you had there?
I had to shut down a little road between Pickering and in Toronto. 7,000 cars a day used.
Oh wow!
And I shut it down for 6 weeks.
6 weeks, wow!
So I had because it was in the movie. It's Hugh Jackman, and he's driving in the van, and he pulls the corner around, and then Tyler Mane, who plays Sabretooth, all of a sudden this big tree comes boom right down on the road.
Wow!
Hugh, who's driving. They hit the tree. He goes head first through the windshield, does a somersault, and lands in the middle of the road. And Anna Paquin is there, thrown in the back. And so we had to do all this big, special effects, visual effects. We had to create snow. We had to topple the tree. So once I put the tree down on the road, it was impassable. So I had to make arrangements to shut it down.
Wow. So, that must have been amazing. And getting the permit by the city, I guess that it wasn't easy either, was it?
Well, nothing's ever easy, but you got to, look, I mean, this is how many, this was the biggest film we made in this country.
Wow.
At that time, 1999. So it's like, guys, you send the mayor to Los Angeles, everybody goes to LA, and it's like, bring production here. This is, it's a fantastic opportunity. I said, so this is what I need. I need to shut down the road, Twin Rivers Drive. And they said, this is, well, guys, what do you want me to go back to the studio? Oh, here. Oh, where's the phone? I'll phone Fox right now. Tell them, Toronto's a great place, but they don't want it. Right?
Hey, Byron, I just wanted to brief the audience. Maybe some of them have some questions for you, but we're about to break into a couple of your clips over there. So I just wanted to brief them. I noticed that some of these people here have just tuned in. So just to brief you guys, again, thank you very much for tuning in. And I guess Byron is recognizing some people here that have tuned in. Guys, this is Byron A. Martin, an acclaimed Canadian film producer who's worked on huge Hollywood productions. He's also done a lot of work here back in Canada. If you guys want to ask Byron some questions, please feel free to do so. So, Byron, you have a couple of clips you want to show us. I don't know. What was that you were showing us on Vimeo before?
I'm involved in so many things. I think I'm, posting a movie in the UK right now. I got a picture in Switzerland called Jill that I'm finishing. And I am in post of a documentary we shot over 5 years in 16 countries called 11. So
I believe you have a clip to show us.
So yeah, I have a little piece that we put together.
That'll be interesting. I'm sure the audience would appreciate seeing that.
Let me see what we can muster here.
There you go.
Lola, say hi, girl. Hello. Say hello. What's up? We don't know what's a big match, man. We're gonna win today. We gonna win? We're gonna win?
Are you gonna vlog the whole trip?
Yeah.
Hello, I'm Tony Jones, commentator. Welcome to Geneva in Switzerland, and welcome to Match for Solidarity. Some of the greatest names in European football history get reacquainted today. The possibility of seeing so many of the great names means that the crowd today is expected to be in excess of 20,000. It may well be full to capacity. And today, the UEFA Foundation for Children staged another game on the pitch here.
Welcome to my room. Você continua estação aqui, era o meu assim. Você vai com candidato, esperar a coisa.
Football is an international language. You know how to communicate and socialize with the kids that can't speak English.
경기장 안에서는 그냥 말 안 해도 딱 통하는 게 있는 것 같아요.
We are in a team sport. We can have different individuals, different characters. We can have some people that score goals. We can have some people that just protect them. It is about 1 times 11 instead of 11 times 1. I believe you have to go on Saturday to your field. At the time that you will start the game and you will be on the pitch, you will be a hero. Just to be there.
Моя история for life was to trampoline for this go. Yeah, I think it's good.
All right.
Very good, very good. Hey, here we go. The questions are coming in. We have a question for you from our listener, Jonathan LaRue, and he says, what is your next Canadian movie fiction project you are working on at the moment or that you will be working on soon?
Well, there's quite a list, Jonathan. So I am doing a picture in New Zealand. And we're just putting the finishing touches on it. It's called Heartland.
Oh.
And a dear friend of mine, David Carson, is directing, who did Star Trek Generations. And we're working with Weta Workshop in the UK. And then I have another picture based on the book called Bear Season that we're shooting here, and we've cast Luke Evans, Bond girl Olga Kurlenko, and our very own Jacob Tremblay. And that's a true story about a Polish bear in World War II.
Nice.
And then, so those two, and then I have another project that Patricia and I are doing called Wolverine Hotel. We're putting together. And my dear friend who won Sundance, Greg Reitman, we're working on a documentary project shooting all over the world called Plastic versus Planet.
Oh.
And then I've optioned a few books that I'm in development of and putting together. So, yeah.
So there's no shortage of work for you, Byron, eh?
No shortage of work. And right now I'm producing a 12-hour television series called Spirit to Soar, and working with my brother, who we've made a number of projects together over the years. And he's directing, and he's one of the writers. And it's all about handicapped natives, artists all over Canada. So we started the shoot in Alberta. And then next we're going to BC, and then we're going to here, Ottawa, Montreal, Northern Quebec, Winnipeg, and right in the inlet to finish. So, yeah.
So you received the Norman Jewison Scholarship Award twice in a row. Was that when you were back at Ryerson?
Yeah, I came here to go to film school, and I applied to go to my first year, and I didn't attend here. Okay. I stayed because I was working at CBC, and I thought, well, I'll invest 4 years in my career back home, and I just kind of hit a wall, and then I went into work in radio as a copywriter and writing full time, and then I thought I would apply to my again, and I got exempt from my first year right into second year, and they never they only do that for film students who are transferring to another educational facility. But because I'd been in production, I went to the University of Alberta, and I got exempt. I don't know still to this day who I have to thank for that, but so I went right into my second year. So the first time was a collection of my third year films that I worked with a colleague, Dylan Reed, from Edmonton, and we made a number of shorts. One of them was Addiction that I mentioned to you earlier, that won the Great Canadian Shorts Contest. And then my final year, I made my graduate film with my buddy Dwight Friesen, and called Evil Underground. And we won the CBC Telefest Award for the best film. It won the Jewison Award. And every year, many years ago, they don't televise it now, but every named and noted film school was allowed to submit a film to the Oscars.
Nice.
So Evil Underground went to the Oscars. Of course, I didn't win. That's why I'm here shoveling snow. But hey,
Hey, we have another question from you from Douglas Brisebois. And the question is,
Dougie,
why,
yes.
do you know Douglas Brisebois by any chance?
Yes, he's a dear friend.
Oh, there you go. He's got a question for you. Take it away, Byron.
Take up from me, nor than to others to follow. There is there's a number. You can't shoot a small town in Toronto, and the North offers you such scale and scope and tremendous variety. Small towns and lakes and cabins and a plethora of opportunities. So, and there's a lot of good people up north, crew wise. I've done 1, 2, 3 projects up in North Bay, and Doug lives in North Bay, and he's a location manager, the most experienced guy in the North. So if you need a location manager, Doug Brisebois is your man. He's a sweetheart of a guy. So it all depends what you're shooting. Sometimes it's a bit of a challenge with respect to what you need to find for some stuff that that's readily available in the big city that you have to find there. It's a bit of a stretch, but other than that, they do a lot of Hallmark Christmas movies there, and it's perfect to shoot in North Bay, and the center of town. Shoots like $1 million. It's nice to get out of the concrete jungle and go and make a movie up north, and there's the lake there every day, and it's great people.
Folks, thank you very much for your questions, and please don't be shy. Byron will be more than happy to answer your questions. We have as a guest tonight, for those who might have just tuned in, acclaimed Canadian film producer Byron A. Martin. Byron, you also worked at the National Film Board of Canada. So what things did you do down there?
Yeah, I worked at the part of the exchange that we used to do at school was to work and do shows at the National Film Board and with others. So I had done a few projects with the NFB, and then I applied for a job for the summer. So I did everything from we shot the last 35 project called The Last Cowboy. So they handed me a Nagra and said, here you go, you're doing sound on the picture. Then I did. I was an assistant editor. Hey Bruno, how you doing? And for a film called Prairie Women, and there was just it was such a great place to work, because really between Jerry Krepakevich and Dale Phillips and Tom Radford. Wow, it's like 30 years ago these names come out of my head. But they're filmmakers. That's all. You go to work all day, and that's all you do is you talk about films. You work with filmmakers. It was the greatest experience I had as a young man, alongside working at IMAX when I worked there. And I worked at IMAX here in Toronto when I was going to school after my third year, and I worked 30 hours a week at IMAX while I was going to school full time.
So that's how you got to pay your schooling, by working those 30 hours a week.
That's it. So I worked as and it was great. Graham and Roman. I mean, these guys are NFB filmmakers, and the whole place is like, Byron, what are you working on? What are you doing? How's your film coming? Can we see it? And it was just a great place to work. So I was working as an assistant production accountant on 3 films for the 86 World Expo.
Oh, wow. Okay. That was in Osaka, Japan, right?
Osaka, Japan. So it was just the accountant and I, and doing 3 shows, shooting 1 in Japan, 1 across Canada. And wow. Jean-Pierre Lefebvre was shooting in Mexico, doing a film called Monarco, about the monarch butterfly.
Have you ever taken a vacation in your life, Byron? Because you sound as if you're so busy
No, yeah, I mean, I did a series for Sony. We did two 2-hour pilots for Street Time and Odyssey 5, and they both went to series. So we did them studio. So I found, an office for both shows, and I dragged the producer up to Downsview, the military base, and we built 2 studios. So after the first season, which we did 18 hours, I did a pilot for CBS.
Nice.
The office was set up, and then just as we were about to start the second season, the producer walked into my office, and he said to me, he says, "You look like shit." And he walked into my coordinator's office, and he said, "You send him. He's going on a holiday. I don't want to see his face for 2 weeks."
Oh no!
And he walked out.
Oh my God!
So I felt fine. I was good, ready to go back to work. But Rob Shea, who was my coordinator and a dear friend, he looked at me and says, "So where do you want to go?" I said, "I don't know, someplace. Send me to the beach for a couple of weeks, man." So I went to Cuba.
Okay.
Yeah, hung out, smoked cigars.
So Byron, tell me, you also worked at the Canadian Broadcasting Corporation as a writer and a producer.
Yeah, it was my first job after work in Edmonton and after school. So I got hired as a commercial writer. And I used to write and produce television commercials.
I think you did something special. What was it, for City Ford in Edmonton? And you were doing commercials for them, and something extraordinary happened to that dealership. Talk to us about that.
Yeah, I mean, I wrote freelance as well, and I used to write jokes.
Oh, okay.
We used, the writer's room was myself and the general manager, and he had a shtick where he would dress up as a crazy Ukrainian called Uncle Nicky.
It sounds crazy.
And so, he would come on dressed up in a hat and overalls and, come buy a car from Uncle Nicky. And then he'd crack a joke. And then, then it would be, so-and-so cars on sale. So I would write every week, send Ray was his name. And so I'd send Ray jokes every week in the fax machine. And if he'd use them, I got paid. And when I left Edmonton, City Ford was the largest volume dealership in Canada.
Wow, that's totally amazing. What an amazing story.
But
and
we used to do heavy rotation. We used to do eight spots a week.
Wow.
So, advertising is, whatever we do and the fun that we had was bringing people to the door. After that, Ray, it's up to your guys. I mean, they got to close.
Yeah.
Right? They got to transact. You want to buy a car, you're coming in, right? What's the deal? You're going to throw in gas for a year and, you got to close. That's how it's done.
Throw in some windshield washer or wipers for whatever it matters.
The guys were top sales guys. They had, we brought in the volume and we had a lot of fun doing it.
Hey, Byron, did you see what my producer just put up here? She goes, "I dare you to tell me, She's going to send me to the Yukon. You know, the Yukon, where it's like, it's dark for 6 months and it's daylight for 6 months. It's like totally crazy up there. So no, I promise, Jenny, I will never tell you that.
A great place. I lectured up in the Yukon. It was good. Beautiful place.
Oh, here we go. We got something from Douglas Breezeball over here.
Doing creating a COVID team on each film currently working on. It's different. So, Doug, the film I did, a little feature I did up north earlier this year. We flew in our actor and his wife had a bit part, put him on a plane and flew him from LA right to North Bay. Isolated them for 14 days.
Oh,
as we did with our a director and our executive. So, and then we had a physician come and test 3 times a week. And so, different protocols. The film I just finished here in town last month, we didn't test. because they just felt that, if you're going to, test people the next day, they may not, test negative, and then they're negative. So, but in both cases, we have an on-set medic, we have COVID officer, we all the protocols in terms of distancing and everyone wears masks. Lunchtime, everyone's spread out. We had, cubicles on the tables where it was divided in glass. And so it's, it's complicated. Directors pay a hell of a price with the time that it takes to process cast, both in the morning and after lunch. And it all comes out of their day. You don't shoot longer days. There's not the financial realities in that. In a documentary that we're shooting in the series across the country, all the guys are tested, and they all work in conjunction. So it's a much smaller crew, but they have to be tested and proved, because we're spending a lot of time on native reserves.
Okay. We have another question for you from one of our loyal audience members. Byron, do you mind if a French-Canadian actor has a small accent in English when you're shooting a movie? Would you cast him?
Sure. Yeah.
No problem at all with that?
I did. I've done a few projects in Montreal over the years, and I work, with my dear friend Amy Miller, and we shoot documentaries all over the world. And with Patricia Chica. So, it's a good thing to have a bit of an edge to your voice.
Okay. Also, you were a cameraman for the Jerry Lewis telethons, working with the Canadian Television Network.
Yeah. I for many years. Jerry and his kids. I was there. I was a camera guy.
Wow. Okay. So how did that work? Was that working in conjunction with the United States? Like you were relaying from Canada? How did that work out exactly?
Yeah. One of our stations, CFRN, which is the CTV affiliate, they used to, air Jerry and his kids, Jerry Lewis telethons every year. And they brought in people from BC and asked for people to come in and do lights and operate camera and do it. So I said, look, I'll come in and I'll shoot. So we did all the Edmonton cut-ins for donations to Jerry and his kids from Edmontonians and business and people. Wow. And then we had a big gala dinner. It was a big event, a lot of fun.
I understand you're a real aficionado for watching films. You were telling me that on a Sunday, you can watch 3 back-to-back films. Right now, unfortunately, with this COVID, we can't do that anymore, but you really enjoy watching films.
Oh, I think, my record is nothing compared to my buddy Bruce Spire, who I think is 57 films at TIFF. I think I hit 34.
34, oh my God. Oh,
but,
wow.
A dear friend of mine from Edmonton who is a big producer in Canada as well, and he's a distributor, and Avi Fettigreen from IndieCan Entertainment. For years and years now, Abby and I have been going. We would go on New Year's Eve. We'd go for Chinese food, and then we do a double and go see a 7 and 9.
Oh my God!
And then Christmas Day, we would go and see 4 or 5 films all day long.
Unbelievable. So
for years, years now.
So you also worked with Ben Wicks.
Yes, Ben, we did, years ago, there used to be, they're doing it again now, A&E used to be do a show called Biography. Canada's version of that was Life and Times. So we did Life and Times of Ben Wicks. And because Ben was a tremendous guy, heartbroken, I was when he passed away so suddenly. But he had written over 30 books and traveled the world, and he was a commentator and had his own show, but Ben was an East Ender, so we took him home to London, and he was the only non-Jew ever to be asked by the state of Israel to write a book on the history of Israel. So we took him to Tel Aviv, and we interviewed Yitzhak Shamir and Shimon Peres, and for 90 minutes, and these three guys talking about life and everything else. So, and then we shot across Canada in the States, and it was, I think, the highest rated episode of the year, because we traveled the world shooting that. And I did that project with my brother as well. And, we've shot pictures in China, all over the States. We did followed up with Pierre Burton, Canada's most arrogant author.
Oh, really?
But Pierre, I mean, he's such an intelligent guy. Whoa. I mean, he people don't know, but he had 3 books on the bestseller list. 3 at the same time.
Wow, that's amazing.
It's really an intelligent man. I mean, it's just a joy to talk to people.
Byron, we have a question for you from Mariana Mustek. And what is the key trait that someone needs to have in order to distinguish themselves from their competition as a producer in the film industry?
Well, you just have to produce good work, and really work with directors that are passionate and people that are that really have a voice and have something to say. I mean, I made a film, as you know, with my dear friend Jim Donovan, Mancation.
Yes, I was about to ask you about that. Yes,
Jimmy's a fantastic filmmaker. Amy Miller, we made a film. The first film we made together, we met in a coffee shop, and somebody said that I should meet you, and she said, I'm doing this film called The Carbon Rush, and I said, fantastic, I'll produce it. That was it.
Wow.
And this is now, we've known each other and been working together for almost 10 years. So we made a film. We did another film we shot in Gaza, and then because she's a prolific filmmaker, that film we did over 100 festivals all over the world.
Wow, that's amazing.
And then when I look at something in terms of distinguishing yourself, you look at what I refer to as stackables. So when you make a film, you have to look at it and say, okay, does it exist as a singularity, or is there something else that it can be done, with it? So I went to a publisher, and I said, look, I have a filmmaker who's a writer, who's a director that's traveled the world. She knows carbon offset, projects that we've filmed all over, and we will have a fixer who we've worked with in every country, 7 countries, write an essay about from the time we left to what's happening in their country, because every country we filmed in, someone was assassinated.
Oh.
So and then we'll have an expert do a foreword in a piece on explaining carbon offset projects. So in a week, I had a publishing deal. So, so there you go. And you get the Carbon Rush book.
Wow. Beautiful.
Written by Amy Miller.
Nice.
So available at Red Deer Press. So, and then we, last year we licensed the IP to Gramercy. And we're doing a podcast about the film and where we've traveled and what's going on with carbon offset projects around the world. So this is what I mean in terms of, you're looking for something that is stackable. You just have to something's got to speak to you, because these are long-term burns. These things, you're working with them. I think Heartland, I started on a phone call from David 4 years ago, and we've knocked on a lot of doors to put the film together, and we finally have got it. So you have to look for work, and then and that's one of the joys of working with Patricia Chica. And I can tell you, because nobody really realizes, the director comes in and does his work, and that's really when the after the film is done, that's when the work begins, because you really have to sell it, you have to market it, you have to promote it, you have to get the sidewalk running, but you're exhausted. So Patricia is one of the few people that I know who is a publicist, speaks 4 languages.
Oh my God.
When our film was invited to Cannes, of one of 15 films in the world, we had international press already.
Wow, that's fantastic.
So, and that's why she's, a real gem, and she's so hardworking. Like Amy Miller, these ladies are machines, and they're a pleasure to work with, both of them, because they it's just ebony and ivory. It's like you really have to support the creative voice, the vision, and know the value of a dollar. So, and that's the key, and really coming up with, proactive solutions. And so really my background is I come from production. So I've made a film in 7 countries for 100,000, and I've worked on a film for 100 million.
Oh boy.
So, Resident Evil was $60 million.
Oh my God.
So, and then it's completely different when you're, a guy who's a gun for hire, and you're working, for George Romero, making Land of the Dead. And, the producer, Dennis Jones, another dear friend of mine. And that's the great thing about this business, is that you work with people, and it doesn't matter whether you see them, 3 years. It's like my buddy Doug, I haven't seen him in years. The first thing you do is you shake your hand. How you doing? Oh, it's a hug, man. How you doing? Where you been? Tell me your stories. What's been going on? And that's the great thing about this business, because ultimately, it doesn't matter what you do. We all create. It's important for a location guy to come up with something creative for a director and a designer to finish off that really says something about character.
And it's a very small world, because as great as you can be, and the word gets around, if you do a faux pas, it won't be too long before the whole community knows about it.
Well, we're all forgiving, and people make mistakes, and it's not as if you don't work hard, and films don't come out the way you want them to. You can work on projects, and they just don't get the marketing. I produced the film, and my broadcaster filed insolvency.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah. Yeah.
So and that's so you really have to have the resources and relationships to kind of go and do things.
Byron, as we're closing in, because oh my God, this hour just flew by, I wanted to ask you, what are your favorite movies and your favorite TV shows?
Wow. I like the epics, that I've always watched many, many times. 10 Commandments.
Oh,
and Her. The epics. I love. When you're looking at more current. When you're looking at really people who make fantastic films, Ridley Scott and Gladiator and Black Hawk Down and then you see a very simple film that it really works so well. Films like Spotlight that take a big bite out of things in a very hard subject. I think that one of the best little films that I've worked on over the years was Simon Birch, which was a beautiful little movie, and first-time director Mark Steven Johnson, so that, and I mean, in terms of television, wow, there's so many TV shows that I've seen over the years that is a staple. Every Thursday night you're watching Hill Street Blues, and then you're watching Saint Elsewhere, and David Shore, Good Canadian, made House, these are top notch, top drawer shows that are written and really have characters that are set up and paid off, become dynamic characters as opposed to flat, and it's really a joy to watch the real talent of people when they put pen to paper.
Byron, as we're closing off over here, we have 2 minutes left. Unfortunately, my God, that went by so fast. What's the best advice you can give our audience out there? If there's any filmmakers that that are starting off or who are aspiring filmmakers, what's the advice you have for them?
Well, I think that you just have to, David Mamet said, always be closing. For me, my mantra is always be shooting. So I like to keep busy. You have to do it. You have to make it, and look to people that are kind of beyond your reach with respect to cast and cinematographers and production designers and a good AD and all these people who are going to help you be better than yourself.
So you're basically saying is that don't be afraid to aim high.
I never got anywhere. I tell people, if you're not asking 100 questions a day, God help you on the 101st. It's going to cost you a lot of money.
Exactly.
So, the phone is a powerful instrument, and never be afraid to call and say, like I did when I was in school. Nobody's going out and has a press pass, and we run a TV station that gives me a lot of power. No more than when I made my graduate film and I needed a $10 million insurance policy. So I called the head of Ryerson and I said, "Sir, I'm making a film. I'm one of your film students. I need a certificate of insurance for $10 million." And he said, "Well, no one's ever asked us for that." And I said, "I'm happy to be the first."
Wow, that's a great initiative.
And I went to his office and I got my certificate of insurance for $10 million.
That's totally amazing.
So, you have to never be afraid. And that's in terms of, and say reach out not only to people, but suppliers. People say, what's your strength as a producer? I mean, nothing without Whites and Sim and, Mel's when I go to Montreal and work with him. Whether I'm renting equipment and shipping it to Winnipeg for a show I did, this is a networking collaboration business.
Exactly.
So when you go and meet people, meet everybody. Everybody has a skill, a talent, a desire, and that's what we do. We connect and we collaborate to create.
And don't be afraid to aim high. Unfortunately, with these words, my dear friend Byron, we have to close off. I do ask you to stay behind backstage because producer Jenny and I are going to have a little wine party with you right now, now that the show is over. So, Byron, is there a last thing you want to say to the audience before we sign off?
Everyone, please stay safe, mask up, and happy belated Christmas, and God bless. And, have a drink by yourself or with one other person for New Year's. And, please. Safe.
Byron, thank you so much for stopping by.
My pleasure.
I'm going to be closing off. I'll be right back.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us. Thank you for your questions, your participation. That was absolutely amazing. Our guest tonight was acclaimed Canadian film producer, Byron A. Martin. We're going to be closing off our special holiday blitz tomorrow evening, when we're going to be hosting Hollywood film director Helen Alexis Yonov. So, guys, you want to stay tuned for another great show tomorrow night. And on Monday, we go back to our regular scheduling. We're going to have Ellie Bertram, who is going to be our guest this upcoming Monday, January 4th. That's another show you don't want to miss. So, guys, once again, thank you for signing in. We'll see you tomorrow night. God bless. Until then, be good, people, and stay safe.